Hello, you are checking proper. Yes. Hello, ma'am. I hope
Hello,
others are
sir.
also joining us in this stream. Yes. So, what's happening these days in MPhil?
Amazing, sir. Everything going good.
Okay, guys. So, everyone here, this is our co-founder or founder and CEO of Apply Psychological Services, who is also pursuing MPhil and currently in the first year of MPhil and started with the hospital, not residentship, but yeah, visits to the hospital and psychiatric wards. So if you have any question, you can just drop in the comment and you can ask ma'am anytime. Okay. So how is it going? Like MPhil, the uncertainty around MPhil and everything is there, and still you manage to get an admission in the amidst of all this. So how do you feel?
Yes, of course, it's definitely very warming and nice to be at a position that a lot of people aspire to be at. At the same time, it's also very overwhelming to see the struggles of other people who, let's say, now I miss this mark by at least a year or two. But people who are still in their masters or much lower than that in their educational levels right now have a lot of uncertainty to go around with it. And I don't know at what point will there be a definite answer about it. So yeah, it feels very privileged to be here. At the same time, it has been equally a struggle.
Yeah, definitely it has been the struggle. So currently looking at the different policies that RCI is giving, and I don't know how much they are implementing. So definitely it's going to be a struggle in the long run also. What do you think?
Definitely. It looks like it's going to go like a long way ahead in terms of where the path is going, but it's not something that is certain. And it's also sad because when you look at other professions who are equal in this matter, let's say something like a medical profession that's more regulated. So we definitely need more awareness and more regulation both when it comes to psychology.
Yeah, but like I was recently watching some series, if you know, Suits. It's about how the legal professions and all are there. And in that, they were having some rules of the psychiatrist or the counseling psychologist also, where this person was waiting for a waiting period of 1 year, and after that he proposed to the psychologist. So which kind of gave me an idea that the guidelines in America are up to the point that they even give you the proper guidelines to, if you want to date your patient or if there are any kind of romantic relationships involved, then how much should be the time to wait. And if you don't follow those timelines, if you don't follow it properly, your license will be cancelled, your license will be questioned in front of the review board or ethics board. So do you think that anything like that in future we are expecting in India?
India does have all of these regulations, but as you mentioned that these are there in the Western countries, we are more so following these ethics only because we have ethics given by the British Psychiatric Association, we have the ethics given by APA, and with the framework already set in, these ethics are quite comprehensive. So we are more so when we are taught in our education systems, when we are subscribing to these ethics, we are more so doing it to the same ethics. But again, it's questionable because in India, there is no document or no legality that says this is the go-to ethics. So now you have American Counseling Association that has a different ethical set, and AP also that has a different ethical set. So there it's much more regulated about who follows what are the guidelines for practitioners. Since we don't have something like that here, or any particular healthcare act that's saying ki people will follow, these professions will follow this ethics and not this one. So even that becomes a little unregulated here.
Yeah, definitely, because the way we are seeing it, that most of the things are unregulated. I won't blame the system, but looking at it, how RCI is continuously changing their views on giving the license, giving bachelor students that they should practice the counseling, but clinical people won't get that license after bachelor's. So all these things, and there is no clarity. Like अभी जो लोग कर रहे हैं उनका तो बैचलर्स हो गए, तो वो लोग क्या करेंगे? और जिनको अभी मिलेगा लाइसेंस, सो दे विल हैव द अपर हैंड, दो ओ वी हैव लाइसेंस, दैट व्हाई वी आर licensed professional, and that's why you like we have more value than the people who are non-licensed or unlicensed. Then how
So
do we
right
tackle
now,
that?
right, I think right now we are at a stage where there is a lot of change happening. And
Hmm.
what usually happens is with changing times and changing regulations. Now, just like we shifted to Nyaya Samhita in the law. So, with that change, also there are some loopholes coming up. There are some things that are not addressed, which were addressed before. So, when such things are coming up, definitely the same thing is happening here. But our juncture is a little more critical, I would say, because right now we are trying to merge in the functions of multiple different organizations where we are trying to get an UGC, their new guidelines of the new education policy, but we're not very fixed with what and where we are placing psychology under, and also when it comes to psychology, also the different wings of psychology. So when you talk about RCI has at least accepted the clinical side of it. But
Hmm.
RCI till now has not been into licensing of counseling psychologists or any other psychologist that way, apart from rehabilitation counselors. So RCI के purview में उतना आता था. Then we are trying to mix it with NEP and UGC. Apart from that, we do fall under the social justice wala section of the government. Plus, there is the Allied Healthcare Act and Mental Healthcare Act that is coming up. So when we are standing between a crossroad of all of this together, it's very hard to come at one particular pinpointed place कि यहाँ पे रुक के यही करना है. That is one thing that is happening. Another very interesting thing that will be coming up eventually is that the Mental Health Care Act has defined all professions involved in the giving of psychiatric and mental health care. So it does talk about different pillars of psychiatry. So psychiatrists are involved. They have mentioned about a clinical psychologist. They have defined a clinical psychologist in terms of a MPhil license holder under RCI. So I don't know what in terms of that are we planning to do. So now let's say if you have scrapped out the degree of MPhil, there should be a change in the law or the act as well where it accommodates the newer nomenclature.
So when we are talking about this new nomenclature, so I heard from you and the other MPhil trainees also that the nomenclatures and the regulations we follow in India and we follow at like in India only we get to see there are two different type of diagnosis followed. One is DSM-5 and other follow ICD-11. Like some of the rehabs which are working on the non-governmental basis, though those will follow mostly DSM-5 or DSM-5 TR, which is the latest edition. But if we are talking about the government organization, then they follow ICD-11 if I'm not wrong. So how do you manage? Like MPhil में दोनों by heart करना है, दोनों का training लेना है, and then you go in the field, or how?
A lot of them, sir, have not really shifted to ICD 11 as well. So if you see, when we are being trained right now, we followed ICD 10, not the 11th one. So when you look at ICD 11, it has a few disorders in addition to ICD 10, and the whole coding system has turned around. So they have used different codes for the whole mental and behavioral disorders, whereas same thing happens for DSM. Now it's crucial where the insurances are taken into consideration, where in countries like USA, insurance may be you get a cover for your mental health. So, and also because America has their own system of classification, it happens more so on
So just
the
give me a
DSM. So
minute.
it's very set like that there. But when you talk about India and any other third world country, the things that are working in the US may not definitely or exactly work here, which is why we have WHO ka ICD, which is the International Classification of Diseases. And in that, whatever we have now, as I told, 10 and 11 में nomenclature change हुआ है. But what we need to understand as professionals is to align it well with your insurance company, and we are still getting there towards getting a definite insurance cover. I don't think we do. We have insurances that cover mental health care yet as a part of the package. So when you take a medical package, there are multiple medical services that are a part of it, but you still do have to pay a top up or a premium to subscribe to the mental health care part of it. So we don't have a mental health care inclusive insurance yet, as per my knowledge.
I guess that's a definitely a good area of research to check how we can implement those new policies or new insurance policies to understand how, like for what diseases we really need to have that care and the insurance, and for what we can include and exclude. That will be a really good exploratory research. That reminds me how, like, when is the research cohort starting? Like, we have recently launched the research cohort and you are in charge of it. So, when is it launching?
So I'm sure you've got the dates. It is starting by the 15th of this month or
Okay.
this week, one day in the mid of this week for sure.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I know the dates, but I just want some of your audience to know that if they are still interested, somebody is interested, because we have one seat vacant. We targeted for a specific number and one seat is there. So if anybody is interested, they can still apply for it. But we are not actively looking for, because we don't want it to be like कि जितना चाहिए उतना admissions ले लो, so we get more money. We want the quality of it, so because of which we want to keep it limited. If it is going below the number, that is also fine. Okay,
I
but
think in research it becomes important that people get the right kind of guidance. So limiting a number makes way for that guidance to be provided to the number of people enrolled.
so coming back to the topic, I went little off topic here, but coming back to the topic, this what is, like, what exactly is different from what you study in masters as a clinical psychology and what you are studying in MPhil? Because many people are like, I have done masters in clinical psychology, and now I guess I should work under some clinical psychologist, or I should assist a clinical psychologist. I have a good knowledge, because in India that is the problem with few or many of the few that if I study masters, I know everything. And that we really don't want to encouraging people. But so for the clarity, what is the exact difference we get to see when you study masters in clinical psychology and MPhil in clinical psychology, RCI licensing?
It depends on the interest area that you work or that you want to work in psychology. Now, before I go into the specifics of psychology, what happens in other fields is that a lot of other fields, their bachelor's is a self-sustaining degree. Like if you look at engineers, they get good jobs, they get good packages, and a lot of times even higher packages than masters past psychologists. So that works for people who have just done their bachelor's in engineering. So for somebody in those fields, doing a master's is like a top up for them. But when you look at psychology as a whole, you cannot get psychological jobs in the field or work as counselors or any other professionals without a master's. Now, that is for the whole of psychology in general. Now, when you go in specifics of different fields, if you look at industrial psychologists, counseling psychologists, and I think even forensic psychologists, their master's is their self-sustaining degree. So, based on if I've done my master's in counseling psychology, I can call myself as a counselor. But that does not happen in clinical psychology because clinical psychology के masters के बाद also there is one more step that you have to take up to be called as a clinical psychologist. So even a master's degree in clinical psychology is not a self-sustaining degree in the sense that you can call yourself a clinical psychologist. You can definitely call yourself a psychologist after that, and you could also work as a counselor or give therapy, you can do research, but you can't call yourself a psychologist or do things like certification and a lot of testing. So, to achieve that status, you need a license. You need to be a professional who is licensed to take up clinical cases and to take up clinical tests with patients, which is why you need MPhil. And addressing the other part of your question, that what is different is masters may more so your theory is done and taken care of when you talk about clinical psychology, but your MPhil is a degree where you're put out on the field, you have to manage people, and that becomes a difficult skill at that time because you do have all the theory. So with like the best of institutions, I can vouch for it. Like the best master's colleges in India for psychology have trained you with all your theory for your MPhil. But when you go there, you struggle because MPhil is a lot more than having that bookish knowledge. When you have a child for testing, you have to conduct their test, you have to talk to them going at that level, you have to talk to their parents, deal with them, stop them from prompting, you have to make sure your testing environment is right. You have to make sure your timer is on zero every time you start counting and make sure you have things on time. So it's like one person managing all the things side by side and still getting the right results out of the test because there is a lot that depends on what results you get.
True. So when the NEP will say that 3 plus 2 is masters, sorry, 3 plus 1 is honors, plus 1 is masters. So so far I'm seeing that in the universities where the fourth year is implemented, what they are doing, you have to do one paper and one internship if you have already done your third years में research. अभी थर्ड ईयर में रिसर्च कर लिया तो व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू इन फोर्थ ईयर इज द इंटर्नशिप एंड वन पेपर ओनली. इफ नॉट, then you will do one research and internship in the fourth year. That's what the some of the universities, I won't name them, but some of the universities are implementing. Now when they are implementing this, is it being really helpful for the students कि वो फोर्थ ईयर हो रहा है एंड देन मास्टर्स में वापस जाके एक वन ईयर ही करना है, so that one year is really helping them or it is limiting their scope to gain more knowledge?
Now
Because
it depends
we
on
have done masters,
what
we have done masters, sorry to cut you, but we have done masters और वो 2 साल में it's not just the education but that
Hmm.
one extra year of college That means one extra
Hmm.
year of connecting with people as a master's student. And that means you get to do extra internship also in the
Hmm.
semester breaks. Okay, just so you get to get that exposure extra in that 1 year, which is
Hmm.
more than the education you are getting in the classroom.
Hmm.
So I would always value that over the sitting in front of the screen or sitting in front of the uh, presentation and learning all that, rather than just doing it 1 year, 2 year will be profitable. That's what I think. What is your?
I think in an ideal setup, what you're saying would work wonders, but we have to understand that even when you say this 1 year wala thing, how ready are people to accommodate these bachelor students and in what capacity?
They are. I
Now,
have seen they are.
as a therapist, sir, I wouldn't be comfortable handing down my clients to somebody who has a bachelor's level training. So I might want them. I would be okay with them working in my organization at multiple roles, getting trained, but I don't think I'm handing down a client to them. That is one thing. Another thing, if you look at it from the perspective of RCI, these students are definitely ticking their checkbox of having a 4 year bachelor's degree, but the RCI circulars very slyly puts out a comment saying that these institutions should be approved by RCI.
I guess there
Four
is
year
no
bachelor's
definition.
degree.
There is no definition of approved by RCA.
The circular said that for the new pattern of bachelors and masters, you need a institution RCI approved. So I don't know where RCI stands on approval of institutions.
That's definitely a question because approval of RCA for MPhil is also very hectic. That's what I have seen in last year. That students are trying to check that which institutes are approved, which are not. Every 2 3 weeks or once in a month, हाँ they are uploading new list जिसमें कुछ colleges reject हो रहे हैं कुछ accept हो रहा है. They never know that whether they are applying to the college that is accepted or not. So RCI is being very dicey कि अरे ये तो accepted है, next list में पता चला कि ये accepted नहीं है. So if I get the admission now and next list में उसमें admission वहां पे cancellation हुआ license का, then what the RCI is going to do? Because
I think
that's
that's
all
a
the question.
rare जिसका जिसका आया है getting it removed is a rare thing. So I have rarely seen that, let's say one college has gotten an approval for 2024 and in the next 2 months wala list, they don't get it. Once they're approved for the year, but they are approved for certain amount of years only. And RCI is giving selective approvals. Matlab, let's say some universities have it renewed for 2 years, 3 years, given on the infrastructure, of course, that they provide. And so each new list, let's say a previous defaulter who has upgraded themselves on the criteria given by them, they get it approved like that.
Okay. Like I don't really know कि ये कितना चलता है because MPhil में मुझे वैसे interest है नहीं. To be honest, I'm more of into the criminals and forensic. So criminals के point of view से सोचना या फिर forensic के point of view से सोचना, that's what all I do. I don't really get into clinical because there are professionals who are trained for that. So I don't want to take their
Right.
places or eat their jobs. Just joking.
But it
But
would be great if you can give that perspective also, since we're discussing about psychology in general. So you could give an overview of how this side of the field works, because I still know there are students who come to clinical counseling because they still want to be associated with a broader field, but my interest lies in criminal and forensic part of psychology. So what would you like to tell them?
that is there. Like I have seen there are few people who are not actually trained to be a forensic psychologist. But just because in their dissertation, in their research somewhere they have used one of the tools like polygraph, they are saying that, oh, I am a forensic psychologist now, which is not actually true, because being a forensic psychologist is not using that tool or know how to use that tool. It's much more than that. Ki, like just now we were saying ki some people going to clinical psychologist and this counseling psychologist to get into the field, because through the rehabs or through the prison counselors, you can get into this field. But that's a very you know a long route. And there is a lot of saturation also in the market for this kind of profession, because there are many people, like in my batch only, there were how many? So I don't remember exactly, but somewhat 67 criminologists were there. Okay. And are approximately same number of forensic psychologists were also there. Okay. People who have done their masters. Now, the number is not clear that how many of them are actually working in that profession, because so far I know like few people, like 4 5 people who have already left the field. They are not working in the same field. They are exploring counseling, they are exploring clinical, they are exploring MPhil options, and they are like कि job ही नहीं है market में. Like the government is not clear on when they are opening the vacancies, recruitments kabhi ho raha hai, they are not clear on that. The MHA, or Ministry of Home Affairs, they are saying we are going to create a lot of jobs in India in forensic, but forensic psychology में कितने बनेंगे कुछ पता नहीं है. Another thing is, like I studied from NFSU, and NFSU is only university in India or in the world uh, which has forensic subjects only. Okay, it is the forensic only university in the world. Now they are opening branches in what I remember from Home Minister Amit Shah's speech, that we will open NFSU in every state. Okay, now 29 states, 7 union territories. If he is successful to do that, okay, let's say union territories को भी side कर दो. 29 states. 29 state में से 20 has, let's say, forensic psychology and this criminology courses. Okay. So for 20 universities every year they will pass out 50 students minimum, because that is the average capacity of the any university. So on average 50 students will pass out. That is 20. That means it goes up to 1,000 students if I am not wrong. Yes, 1,000 students per year passing out. There are not even 100 vacancies properly in the forensic psychology. And that is, I'm just talking about forensic psychology, not also the criminology. Criminologists are also allowed to work as a forensic psychologist. So having something of your own always pays off. Second thing, if you have interest, you have skills, you can create something on your own. That's what I believe into. Because in India, there is a lot of scope. Government is not working on it, but private firms can work on it. Private firms are working on it, like to get the job for forensic psychologists, for criminologists. So, like for forensic psychology, you need not to be just forensic psychology and know about the criminal and the evidences. It's about you should know about the mental disorders. You should know about the counseling skills. You should know about the repo building, because that might be taught in the bachelor's and the master's practical how to do the repo building. But when the person coming in front of you who is not your friend or not the participant you have dragged for your practical, and that time it becomes difficult, because that person is going to put up a wall एंड वो नहीं बताएगा तुम्हें. वो क्यों बताएगा? उसने कुछ क्राइम किया है, उसने जो भी किया है. Why the person will tell you? Until and unless you are dropping your guard and you are telling that person, oh, this is what this is what happened with me, and that person also opens up eventually. But that also somewhat has the conflict with the ethics, that you cannot bring your personal stories and personal issues in between when you are talking to your client or the another person as a when you are a psychologist. So that becomes difficult. So that's why the rapport building becomes very important as a skill when it comes to forensic psychology also, not just only forensic psychology. Like I'll tell you this one incident. I went to Ahmedabad jail. For my dissertation. I had to visit there. So I went there for my dissertation. I got the permission and everything. ऐसे 3-4 बार चक्कर लगाने पे वो साबरमती जेल का परमिशन मिल गया. Now, after going there, the first thing I visited was जहाँ पे लोकमान्य तिलक को रखा था. लोकमान्य तिलक को वो साबरमती जेल में जहाँ पे रखा था. I visited that room and then I visited the jailer and everyone. Then he was like, you just sit here. All the criminals around me. Okay. Now, calling them criminal won't be right because even though they are convicted for their crimes, some of them might be, having guilt of it. Some of them are thinking how to get out of it and have a normal life. So all these people were convicted around me. One person came and he was like, कि, should I show you around? I was like, ठीक है. दिखाओ क्या दिखा सकते हो like it's a very big place and they are doing gardening, they are doing stitching work and a lot of things, they are handmade craft also they are doing. तो ये सब बता रहे and ये चल he is showing me everywhere and then he is like कि he was like कि आपको पता है मैं यहाँ पे क्यों हूँ? मैं बोला, नहीं. क्यों हो भाई? Because he was almost of my age or younger than me. He's not even older than me. And that time, I guess, some 25, 26, 25 maybe. So he's less than 25, his age is. And he's like कि अरे कुछ नहीं आपको पता है हम लोग एक शाम को ऐसे ही क्रिकेट खेल रहे थे. बोला तो क्या बॉल की जगह पे सर पे बैट मार दी? बोलता है नहीं नहीं. वी वर प्लेइंग गेम. बाजू के गांव से लोग आए. वी वर प्लेइंग विद देम. वो चीटिंग करने लगे. We won the game, they lost the game. And then they were not being a sportsman, like not showing any sportsmanship. And जब हम शाम को आरती करने के लिए गए, so वो टाइम पे these people came, brought somebody along with them, and they starting beating us with the bats and pipes and everything. तो मुझे बाजू में पाइप पड़ा मिला, मैंने सेल्फ डिफेंस में उठाया, उसके सर पे मारा. वो बंदा जगह पे मारा. होता है वो टाइम पे मैंने गुस्से पे काबू किया होता ना, आज यहाँ पे नहीं होता. The way he was narrating, it was clear that इसको ये नहीं करना था. He was not like कि I want to go in the jail or I want to be in the prison for half of my life. Maybe 10 years होगा, 14 years होगा उसका वहां पे imprisonment. But nobody is like that. So understanding that you is also important when it comes to forensic psychology. Like I don't know what it might be my skill or it might be just that person wanted to open up. नॉट श्योर बट वो एक सामने से बता रहा था लिसन टू मी दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू से and that I don't think that every criminal does that or every person who is convicted does that. They some of them want to be heard and there is nobody to hear them. So prison psychologist can definitely help in that process. There also forensic psychologists can work. So that's a very good area to explore, which is unexplored for many of the states. Like every uh, state has almost 2 to 3 central prisons. In India, there are more than 2000 prisons. So that means if we are planning कि हर एक prison में एक prison psychologist होगा, minimum 2000 vacancies होगी, but options are not explored.
So there's another question. So would you say gender could be something that we need to be mindful about before entering a profession like that?
Like because in the field, I have heard one girl came to me, one of my students. She was like, "Sir, I want to study forensic psychology, but parents are not allowing because the field not have many for female psychologists. And I was like, that's very wrong information. That's not something I would say that it's true, because the first very well known forensic psychologist who did narcoanalysis in India was also a female psychologist. The person who was the where I did my internship, except one group, like every group of two people, except one group, and there were I guess 7 to 8 groups. Except one group, every other group had the female supervisor. In that Gandhinagar FSL, where I did my internship that time, वहाँ पे भी director of the department, deputy assistant director of the department too. Plus, there are other this assistants also, their assistants. Everyone is female. Like hardly I have seen male people who are working there, and one photographer person who used to be there always, I guess, from the photography department, forensic photography. But females are more in the field than male. Male, I guess, they are dominating the field of crime investigation, being in the field. But forensic psychology, में females are more.
That's a nice thing to hear because even I have heard that मुझे ये करना था, but parents ने allow नहीं किया and mostly it comes from females.
Yeah.
Yes. So, since you've talked so much about all of this, sir, I would like to also add up and extend this topic to asking you about how important is skill development and what kind of skills are required. Because when we talk about theory, it's a common observation. A lot of colleges do equip you well with the theory part of it, but when you are in a behavioral science, at the end of the day, you are interacting with people. So, what kind of skills do you think there is still a gap between from your college to your job transition?
These skills, they will teach you everything about theory. Okay, so might not teach you, not always. Because that's a reality. Kuch professor, just because they have PhD, they try to get into the field of teaching. And I believe that, just because you have PhD, that doesn't mean you know how to teach. Or you know how to learn, that doesn't mean you know how to teach.
Right.
So currently I'm teaching in one of the national universities. One of the big universities actually has multi-national campuses. So in that university, there is recently we started with the criminal psychology this course, and I am teaching their criminal profiling. Okay, so when it comes to the skill, they are also asking me, sir, to become the criminal profiler or criminal psychologist, what kind of skills do we need? And I would say these are the three skills that you will always need. You go to any other profession also. So not just psychology. First is you need to have a good observation. You definitely need to have a good observation, because if you don't know where to look for, what to look for, and what you are, getting from that observation, you cannot really bond with the topic that you are going to explore. So observation is the most important. Like if somebody is saying, even if you are taking the English literature part, Shakespeare bol raha hai. Now I am not the literature student, but whatever he is saying, if you make an observation and look at his pattern of whatever he is saying, then you can understand Shakespeare better than anyone. You need not to have PhD in that. But if you can understand the pattern, then it helps you. Then second is thirst to learn. You need to keep yourself updated. Like I have seen RCI licensees not updating their license, not updating on their knowledge, and because of which उनका just RCI registration है, renewal नहीं है. They are saying I am RCI psychologist, RCI registered clinical psychologist. There is no registration. So that thirst to learn should be there to add to their skills. And then third is you should know how to organize your thoughts in the words, because wrong
Right.
words, right thoughts can mess the whole thing. So observation, thirst to
Definitely.
learn, and the mastery or over your words is really important when it comes to any profession, not just forensic, clinical, criminologies, or let's say even if you are a engineer, it will help
Right.
you. What do you think?
Definitely. I agree with you, sir. So I think on that note, we can open up for taking up a few questions if there are any in the chat box.
Yes, guys. Do you have any questions? Like initially, we planned it as a very casual session because we wanted to check our how the system works, and we are still exploring because, as you know, this is the new company, comparatively young company. I won't say new, but we are trying to explore the options like the software and everything on our own. Even our website we have created from the scratch on our own. So we wanted to check कि कैसे जाता है. So that's why we plan to do this. But I think it was a really good talk. And I don't think that when we are sitting together for a coffee or something, or for any meeting, we will have this kind of discussions. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure there were a lot of insights dropped for people wanting to make decisions further.
Definitely. I guess we should do a dedicated session on life of MPhil trainee.
Sure, we'll take that up eventually.
Yeah, because we have good psychology trainees, trainee psychologists in apps. So they are also eager to learn that how, if they want to go for MPhil, then how it will be. And I'll tell you this one interesting part. When I started teaching at this university, which I told you just now, they have multinational campuses. So that time on my first day, I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to teach you anything. Just tell me your name, why you are interested in psychology, and what do you want to do after bachelor's." So, like, that's a very psychology dedicated course. In my time, it was more like you will do three papers from the start of your bachelor's, and then you will end up with one or two majors, like double major or single major. But it's not like that. I guess the time has changed that people are more focusing on the single paper from start to end. And these people who have spent 3 years learning psychology, out of 50 students, at least 8 to 10 are saying that I want to do an MBA. Five more are saying that I want to you know work as an HR. And then some of them, like remaining message, 50% they are saying I want to be a clinical psychologist. So my question was, you want to do masters in clinical psychology or you want to be a RCI licensed clinical psychology? So sir, पता नहीं RCI क्या कर रहा है, पता नहीं चल रहा है.
Right. There
and
are there are definitely uncertainties.
and people are I'm glad that people after spending 3 years they are like कि नहीं, I want don't want to work in this field, I want to go for something, I won't say better, but something different. तो वो समथिंग डिफरेंट के लिए, बट दे हैव ऑलरेडी स्पेंट 3 years here. So it really take guts to change their field and go and explore something else. So I appreciate that, but why is it not taught at the initial level only कि आगे जाके इसका ये होगा. So that awareness about the mental health and all is ठीक है, but awareness about the studying psychology क्या है.
We still have a long way to go in that sense. We have
Definitely.
one question. I think we can take that up and then we'll end this section. So there is a question on Instagram which asks, I wanted to know how the MPhil is in abroad countries as compared to India. So I'll take that up.
Yours only.
Yeah. So when you talk when you talk about MPhil abroad, usually they have a pattern of bachelor's, master's, and directly a PhD. Their licensing system is different from our system, and if you look at countries like USA who are developed, they have geographical location specific licenses. So if I'm licensed to, let's say, practice in so and so states, I cannot provide my services to another state, even though if it's online. So जितना valid मेरा licensing है, उतना ही I am going to provide my services. And again, that depends on the legislature of that country. It's not necessary that they do need a MPhil degree to get licensed. So education system there is quite different. And now to in the next 3 to 4 years, even we won't have an MPhil. But MPhil as a licensing requirement has been a part of the Indian education system only. That too because it came under the RCI.
But MPhil, I don't think other countries really have MPhil ka concept.
And yeah, I don't think they have it.
They are
MPhil initially at our place also was like a prep between your masters and towards your PhD because the research focus has not been so much in these courses. But now with master's courses having a compulsory research component, I don't think that bridge is required, and people have had eventually stopped doing a master's plus two plus a 4 year PhD when they had an option of directly going to a PhD after masters.
ठीक है, I guess we can wind up on this because वो check करने में 1 2 3 mic check 1 2 3 mic check has gone for 1 hour now. Hello, ma'am. Okay, I guess ma'am has left. So, hello,
Hello.
ma'am. You got
Yes,
disconnected.
sir. I think, yeah, I think we can wind up. I had gotten disconnected briefly.
You got what?
I'd gotten disconnected. I think we can wind up now.
Yeah, yeah, we can definitely wind up. See you next time whenever we are having a live
Yes, sir.
with our other trainees also to learn more about MPhil and how things are working in India. And definitely we will try to get other psychologists also to join us.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes.